Today, we're going to talk about one of the most popular privacy technology tools in the world, Tor. The Tor project. Now, you've probably heard of it. You've also probably heard of some conspiracy theories about Tor. Well, the military created it. True, but the government owns it and runs it. False. Why? Well, if you understand Tor and how Tor works, that's just literally not possible. Now, there is some things they can do, and this is why we need alternatives. Most notably, they can capture the nodes. Now, I've done a detailed video breaking down exactly how Tor works, how you can use Tor to be anonymous. Do I recommend Tor? Yeah, I do. But there are some circumstances where you might need some alternatives. So I'm going to break down my favorite alternatives in this video. Today, in Operation Real Privacy. Now, you may or probably didn't notice this tweet by Jack Dorsey, who said, and actually Freenet retweeted this, and Jack talks about the good old days of the internet when privacy was more of a focus. And I do have some respect, although I'm not a Jack Dorsey fan, for the fact that he takes the blame, that he's partially responsible for the internet going south, but we are coming back decentralized with our own version of Web3. Who? Well, people like me and people like you. Obviously, the governments don't want that, but the cool thing about decentralization is they can kick rocks. And to see Jack Dorsey even talk about that is actually quite interesting, if you ask me. But let's break down a couple alternatives, shall we? I do want to be clear. I use Tor. I recommend Tor. No, Tor is not owned by the government or the CIA. Do they monitor it? They monitor everything. It doesn't matter what you do. They try to monitor everything. That's nothing new. However, if they can capture the nodes, because you have the relays and then the nodes, you're using a VPN anyway. You're using my privacy method anyway, right? How I break down step by step how to be completely and utterly 100% anonymous online. If you're doing that, not even the CIA can crack it. Hate to tell you. So, if you're just using your Wi-Fi in your name and you're hopping on Tor, then yeah, maybe an exit node, but you're probably not doing anything illegal anyway. Anyway, I'm gonna break down exactly why you could use some other ones. First one, I2P. What does that stand for? Invisible Internet Project, end-to-end encrypted. Now, Tor does have a few shortcomings. It's the most popular, and one of the most valuable things on Tor is there's over 2 million active daily users. I've heard numbers of over 10 million users on busier days, which is incredible. Lots of nodes relaying through different zones, keeping you private and anonymous, and masking people to look the same. However, there are some privacy features that Tor, let's say, falls short on. Now, I think when this was built, two things. A, they didn't want to go too deep. Government has always been anti-encryption. Well, I2P has end-to-end encryption. It's a really cool network, a really cool platform. I recommend you check it out. And there's a lot of additional value. So why would you use this over Tor? I wouldn't recommend using this over Tor. I would recommend using this as a toggle, right? You never want to do all things on one thing. So you never want to just use one browser. Use Firefox Focus and Brave and whatever other browsers you use, or the Tor browser. You use all the different browsers. In fact, I'm going to talk about one of my favorites here in a second. But you want to compartmentalize. Maybe you do business stuff on one. Maybe you do, personal stuff on another. Maybe you have a business Nota account, a personal Start Mail account. Maybe you whatever you have, compartmentalize. That's where I2P comes in handy. That's where the Invisible Internet Project comes in handy. Now, end-to-end encryption is valuable if you're using the network as a whole, but I still recommend masking yourself, utilizing your favorite flavor of Linux. I've done detailed breakdowns of my favorite Linux, but you definitely gonna want to use one. I would not recommend using many. If you're using Windows, the windows are always open. Really, there's very little you can do. Mac, there's a lot you can do. Linux, there's basically unlimited. So keep that in mind. Now, if you do have, unfortunately, if you have a Windows computer, I don't recommend doing nothing, but understand that when you can afford to update, I would recommend updating because they're not privacy-based machines at all. So that being the case, what is a good browser? Well, how about Epic Browser? Epic Browser is absolutely amazing. It's not as popular as Brave. Brave is becoming a little bit more mainstream, which is always worrisome. Check out Epic. Epic has anti-fingerprinting. Now, if you're not familiar with fingerprints, well, here's a fingerprint, but I'm not necessarily talking about the fingerprint on your finger. I'm more so talking about your digital fingerprint. Things like screen resolution, machine, MAC address, IP address, geolocation, and on and on and on. There's literally 5 or 6 dozen features. They can look at what browser you use, what plugins you use on that browser, size of screen, windows open. They could use algorithms to see what sites you have open to be the most likelihood for it to be you. They can see who you're connecting to on social media. Everything you do online is tracked by somebody. Understand that the more you can look, you remember that music video, this one, the Real Slim Shady, Please Stand Up? Well, the thing in that video, you know how they all have like the shirt and the bleached hair and they all look almost the same? That's the value of the Tor browser. That's the value of Epic browser. That's the value of these privacy tools. Anti-fingerprinting built in should be the standard, but of course it's not. That said, it also has privacy built in and it has anti-trackers. Now you might think, well, I could get plugins on browsers like Google Browser or Safari, right? No, you can get plugins that from your site on stops the site from tracking. The plugin will not stop the browser from tracking. Believe me, Google and Apple and Microsoft with things like Bing, etc., they have mastered this. They have mastered the art of the metadata and utilizing your data as a product. Your data is a trillion-dollar industry, trillions upon trillions of dollars. Data is one of the biggest industries in the world that no one wants to talk about because the product is free. You are the product and you're being exploited all day, every day. So understanding that not just for the exploitation of your data, but also for your freedom, for the way things are going. I did a video the other day talking about the rollout of the social credit score. This video, I recommend you watch it because I really dive deep. I also appreciate you guys' response. I got dozens and dozens of emails breaking things down on that. Really cool. But Epic browser can help circumvent a lot of this. So I recommend you check out the Epic browser, and it's another good toggle between Tor if you're looking at the dark net, if you're looking at the deep net, etc. The next one I want to talk about is Freenet. Now I started this off talking about a tweet that Jack Dorsey put out, and Freenet retweeted it because he mentioned Freenet, Ooznet, and basically a bunch of other tools, even back when we had more of a privacy-focused email before sites like Yahoo and Gmail took over and a lot of other sites. So, you know, Freenet is incredible. Now you can use the open net or the dark net, and it's peer-to-peer. I want you to understand a couple words, okay? Peer-to-peer is what everything should be. We need to quit with these centralized middlemen. A bank is a middleman and they're not necessary. Crypto at its core solves that. You do not need a bank. You do not need most of these things, okay? The ISPs in their current form, we don't need them. The social media sites in their current form that are running as dictators, we don't need them. All of these things can be peer-to-peer, but we allow these centralized middlemen. Most of the government, worthless in all countries, in all areas. Now, I think we need a small government to handle a few core fundamental issues, but we don't need 80% of the government we currently have, for sure. And these things solve that. So understand, peer-to-peer is vital. You know what else is vital? Having a situation that is decentralized. We don't need gods. We don't need dictators. A god, that's fine. But I'm talking about Mark Zuckerberg's not a god. Jeff Bezos is not a god. I like Elon Musk. I don't agree with him on everything, but I like him, but he's not a god. He's one of the few who doesn't want to be. In fact, he's one of the ones champion drilling oil right now, even though it actually, in theory, hurts his business. But he's the one, he's got the biggest electric car company in the world. He knows we're a couple decades away from critical mass, and so he knows we have to drill right now. Oh, I digress. All right, I gotta try to stay on topic. People are telling me to stay on topic, so that's a topic for a different video. But peer-to-peer and decentralized are vital. So, I2P, Epic browser, Freenet, adding with Tor in your repertoire because you're mixing things up and you've got things compartmentalized. Oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. Now, is Tor illegal? Well, the government uses Tor as the blanket, we're going to make encryption illegal, and they talk about Tor. If the government created Tor and then clearly doesn't understand Tor. The government doesn't understand Bitcoin, Tor, encryption. They don't even understand how social media ads work. The government's a bunch of idiots in all areas. Your government, my government, their government, their government. So, peer-to-peer, decentralized, compartmentalization. Those are three things you should do consistently. Ask yourself, is this peer-to-peer? Is this decentralized? Can I compartmentalize this? How can I take my information out? Every time you sign up for a service, is this a dummy email? Is this a dummy name? Do not give these companies any real information. Add that into your daily practice. Am I worried about encryption being illegal? No, because the government doesn't fully know how that works. And to be able to encrypt things on the internet and to be able to run things through the blockchain and decentralization, the only option they have is the nuclear option, and that's to take the entire internet down, which is never going to happen. It would make them have no power. What you got to understand is people always talk about how far the government's going to go. Keep in mind, if they go too far, they lose their own power. Why do you think the government always pulls back? Because at a certain point, they lose their own power. So you've got to find their pain threshold. In 2020, they went way further than most people thought they would go, myself included. But they've always got a stopping point. We've seen their stopping point, which ironically and hilariously enough was truckers. Okay, truckers saved the day. These freedom convoys. Biden was in full panic mode. He was in a fetal position under his bed in Delaware. And Justin Trudeau was throwing a fit and hiding, making stuff up on every news because they were petrified of these truckers. They're petrified of freedom. They don't want that. They want control. But they understand if they push too far. Blockchain only needs one node. Are they going to be able to shut it down? No. Now we have so much of the internet on alternate energy, so much of the internet that is spread out across the entire planet. It's basically, the internet is almost mutually assured destruction for their power and basically for civilization at this point. It has gone, if they wanted to take the internet down, they've let it go decades too far. And now with Web3 and blockchain, there's nothing they can do. Because not only do they have to take the internet down, they'd also have to take all the power down. Which again, they have zero power at that point. They are nobody. They are nothing at that point. So that's the one thing you got to keep in mind. Anyway, let me know your favorites down below. These are three of my favorites besides Tor, and I want to make it clear, the government has been attacking Tor. They have floated in different bills to make Tor illegal. Do I think that's going to happen? It doesn't really matter. If you use the internet right, see, the government is trying to get a grasp on the internet because they understand it's so far out of their grasp and so far beyond their control that they're getting scared. They're petrified of what's going to happen because decentralization equals freedom. And it doesn't matter if you're in Germany or Berlin, or the UK or Ireland, or Iceland or Australia, or Japan or Hong Kong, or Burma, or the Congo, or Brazil, or Costa Rica, or Belize, or the United States, or Canada, or anywhere else. Decentralization, peer-to-peer, is freedom. And there's nothing they can do about it. Let me know your favorites down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.